indoor cannabis is, it's 90 degrees and it's 60 degrees at night. And so they're a little bit, I don't know the right word. They're not as hardy as the outdoor sun-grown cannabis is, and that has a totally different effect on each and every one of us.
Yeah. Indoors a bit more regulated. When you have sun-grown, that's outside dealing with the harsh environments. It's definitely a different experience for the plant, as opposed to being inside where it's protected. It's got, everything, the drip system, everything's regulated on a timing system. So it's a bit different for sure.
Right. And we're doing Colin's also doing some experiments with some of the dry farmers up in the middle part of Humboldt County, Sunbolt and there's a couple other farms up there that just strictly do dry farming. And, we're trying to figure out if different areas in the county grown differently really produce different terpenes. And another terpene that was discovered in the Margie's Magic that we have out there is a terpene called terpenylene, which is tested by in the standards of the California testing labs. And it was so high in terpenylene that it actually won second place at the state fair this year for that terpene content. So that's another cultivar that we're pretty excited about. And, I always tell people it's really better for them to identify what terpenes are in the cannabis they're smoking. So if they discover that those certain cultivars make them feel amazing, that they can then seek out other cultivars if the retail shop doesn't have that specific one with that specific terpenes. But maybe there's another farmer that grows the same kind, like Soul Spirit won first place in one of their interstate fair with one of their cultivars for terpenylene. So like if you came there and Margie's Magic wasn't there, then you could look up, I think that the name of the cultivar is called Soul Shine. So it's better to understand which terpenes in the flower makes you feel good, because then you could seek out other ones and hopefully they'll make you feel the same way.
Exactly. That's how I feel a lot with limonene. I know limonene is a terpene that's associated with being happy. It helps you with anxiety, those types of things. So I think that as a consumer and, other people who consume going forward, knowing a little bit more about the terpenes that are in your flower can go a long way in just the happiness in your daily life and the health too. This helps a lot of people, not just for pain and not just for anxiety, depression, but people use it for cancer and people use it for a lot of ailments. And this plant has been around for generations. So I'm sure that these are all things that our ancestors had learned. Maybe they didn't articulate it the way we are doing it now, but they knew that this plant brought healing powers, and these are the things that we are just now unlocking centuries later. So it's pretty fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and along those same lines, that is truly why it's so important for the consumer to demand from the retail shops product that's grown by a small farmer, by a farmer in the Emerald Triangle, because it's been said quite a few times that the cultivars here that we have are super rare. All the strains that we grow here on our farm are bred. Every strain is bred to a strain I used to grow with my mom when I was 10 years old. So those aren't found anywhere else in the world. Humboldt County, our genetics are like kind of like the Amazon jungle. Really, there's one of us really has a cultivar that maybe has that ability to cure cancer or cure autism or cure some other kind of ailment. But if unfortunately, with the condition of the market today, if we don't survive, we might really miss out on having an amazing chance of finding one of those cultivars that one of these small farmers have that has that ability to cure cancer. So we are also this year starting to work on trying to identify the different cannabinoids and different kinds of things that a lot of these flowers have in them that might have that ability. We're doing that also with Columbia University, trying to get some grant money from the state of California. And I saw something just passed, not exactly sure what, maybe Biden signed something, maybe they're going to allow some kind of studies to start happening federally. So that'll open the door to maybe finding out which ones of these strains will have that ability.
No, that would be fantastic. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the one thing that a lot of people are upset with is just, the lackluster research the government really wants to put into it. They're doing research, but they're not. So it's great when you're talking about doing research with Columbia University and really trying to find out like the bare bones of what can help and if there really is things out there like that we can find in the plant terpenes and things of that nature that can go a long way to helping somebody and just their overall health, especially if they have cancer. Do you know of any terpenes as of right now that are great for that?
Whitethorn Rose has this selenidine, and I'm not sure what other cultivars are grown around here that has it, but he's beginning to start to look at that a little bit closer because, he's been looking at some, the way the brain works and the way the cannabinoids work with that specific terpene are pretty unique, and every different study that he looks at really says it has some amazing healing properties. So it's still early, and I don't know a whole lot. I usually follow his lead with that, but pretty excited to see and discover new things and new ways to help people because, as you know, and as we know as farmers here, it's not just us struggling out there in the real world. It's pretty tough for a lot of people, and we can't let this tough time in our lives really break us apart. This is when we really need to join together. And, last year we grew two greenhouses full of Margie's Magic, which was a strain that we named after Rose's mom, who passed away from cancer at the age of 48. And so in Rose's mom's honor, Margie, we donated 350 pounds of buck down product to a company named Dear Cannabis, who supplies product that's been donated to compassionate care people, veterans, and really just people in need. And I think they made like 8,000 RSO Margie Magic files that they gave away. And the response and the warm-hearted feeling and messages that we get from just that act of kindness really are the reason we are here today. This is why we're doing it. It's not going to be about the money ever for us. We're just a small farm, and we just really love the opportunity to share our life's work with the world. And so, like platforms like this and what you guys are doing, it just starts to feel like we're all aligned with our values and we're all fighting for the right reasons. And it just starts to all of a sudden feel good and like we have momentum and that we're making headway and that, it's never going to be about one of us and it's always going to be about all of us.
I love that saying because it really is all about us. We're all on this earth, one foot in front of the other, and I think that's going to take us to make this world a better place. And that's a big part of the plan itself is that I think that it'd be great just to have everybody be a part of this healing, this wonderful healing plan, and just be able to enjoy the benefits that it brings all of us. Some of us that have already been able to really enjoy it. Back to the Selena dying. After our last conversation, I looked it up, did some research, and to be honest with you, I did not find a whole lot on the internet. So that can attest to what you said, like there's not a lot of research on it yet. People are still trying to figure out things about it. So I think as time goes on, they do a little bit more research, especially on selenium dying, and they do a little bit more research on other terpenes that hopefully would be, I guess, their standard, because it's a bit of a shame that we missed out on terpenes because of that. But hopefully as time goes on, we'll see a little bit more of these terpenes that we don't really get a chance to hear of introduced into the general public so that we could all kind of study them and get to know them a little bit more for ourselves.
Yeah, right. And, I'm thinking about it and even hearing you saying it, it even instills it more it's the right thing to do. Is that, you know, I might not know exactly the right thing to do for my business or what you should be doing for your business or other people, but it seems really easy that a lab that's in California currently right now, they're all only testing for 20 to 25 terpenes. Well, if there's 60 different terpene standards out there, if I'm a lab, I'm jumping on every single one of those terpene standards and offering that up to all of California farmers, because then you're going to be able to identify. Then you've cornered the whole market. Then every sun-grown craft cannabis farmer in California is going to that one because they want to find out what terpenes are more prevalent and not prevalent in their cannabis, so they can share that information with the consumer. So, like, if there's a lab out there listening, I'm telling you, you want to corner the market, you want all of the Emerald Triangle business, get some more standards. And I know they're kind of costly. It's been my understanding that a standard to integrate into the machines that they have could cost up to $20,000 a standard, but it would be a heck of an investment, you know, for a company to really corner that area of the market.
Well, a heck of an investment and a small price to pay, in my opinion, for, you know, possibly healing remedies and, you know, things that could really help the general public, could really help people. I think that why not? Why not? Why not spend the $20,000 to get, you know, the information, to do the research, and to find out, you know, what is really in these terpenes and in these plants that can go a long way to helping us out. Because I mean, it's really what I mean. All of us want as people is to learn, to gather information, and the more information we can learn that could benefit us, I'm all over it. I know I am. I know you're one of those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it was the first year that we really allowed some of our genetics to escape our not escape, that I've shared with different farmers in the Emerald Triangle. I shared a cultivar that we grow here, Mom's Weed, which is really Whitethorn Rose's sister pheno. So
Okay.
Moon Maid is growing it on the east side of Humboldt County, and then also in China Creek, which is right down the road, a little bit north of me. Hogwash Farms is growing Mom's Weed too. So we'll be able to experiment around with Colin and Columbia University to really start to identify the different terroirs and the different regions throughout the state and how they generally affect, you know, terpene profiles and cannabinoid profiles, and really start to push the terroir in the different regions throughout the state and how they're valuable, kind of like Napa Valley,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, in the wine. So we're hoping to discover that the Emerald Triangle produces some of the best cannabis in the world, which we all believe to be true. And, you know, we're going to keep pushing until we could prove it really one way or the other.
I love that. Gotta have tenacity, you know. Can't give up. Can't give up the good fight. If you were if you had somebody who was new, who wanted to kind of delve into the terpene scene, wasn't really a frequent smoker, but wanted to try something to maybe help for depression or anxiety, what would be a good terpene for them to lean on for that?
You know, I think that, you know, starting out with limonene or caryophyllene is a good start. You know, maybe some of the more sativa dominant cultivars that are out there. More important than that, really, I think, is identifying and knowing your farmer. I always tell people that
Yes.
I meet for the first time, is the most important thing that they should do, more so than finding out the THC content or terpenes or cannabinoids, is knowing your farmer, which is really easy to do nowadays. You know, platforms like this, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, or you can just Google like Huckleberry Hill Farms or Moon Maid Farms or Hogwash Farms, and really it'll pull up different news articles that they did and things about their farms. A lot of us have websites. We have pickhumboldt.com, and it tells a lot of stuff about our farm and about the cultivars that we grow. So you could start really investigating, and figuring out how those farmers really are cultivating the product that you're about to put in your body, because, really figuring out that I'm a good or bad person really could help you figure out prior to ingesting that product, whether or not you're going to feel good or maybe it won't be so special. So that's the first thing. And it doesn't take very long. You could do it on your phone really prior to even going into a retail shop or having some stuff delivered to your house. And, if something that we cultivate here doesn't make you feel that amazing, there's farms like Bryceland Forest Farms and Moonmaid Farms, and there's a lot of amazing regenerative farmers that really grow organically and that take the time and interact with each and every plant. It's kind of like a plant to me it really is similar to sending your child to a private school or a classroom that doesn't have a whole lot of kids, where they can get that individual attention. It only makes sense that they're going to be able to learn more and turn out a little bit better when they get, a little bit of TLC. And so I look at each and every plant as a kid going to private school and give them as much attention as I can. And there's not very often that I can walk out my front door here and look across the farm and I might see a leaf wilting a little bit or a discoloredness coming on or something. And, I can run up to a certain plant and really try to figure out what's happening with that, if it needs water, if it needs more fertilizer, or this or that. And it's pretty amazing actually how tuned in you can get. But if you're a bigger company and really it's about these things they call SOP, standing operating procedures, right? And it's Wednesday and they think Wednesday is fertilizer day and they bought something that they say looks good on a jug or has a good packaging, and you dump it into the tank, just because of it looks like a bud doesn't make it, or, a flower doesn't make it, it's not going to always make you feel amazing. So you have to experiment around and really know your farmer.
I agree with that 100%. Through my experience, that's one thing that I try to tell a lot of people is, don't pay so much attention to the THC percentage, look at the terpenes, pay attention to who's growing it. Like you said, you want to know your farmer and you want to know their story. And, a lot of times that would deter me. I do a lot of research on the flower that I smoke and that I ingest. I'll look at the company, I'll look at the person who's growing it, and I just do a little research into their story and just a little bit about them. And, honestly, you could get a lot from reading their bio or reading the information about them and just seeing what they say, if they're in it for the money or if they're actually in it for the people, and it to help the consumer, So that's why I go back to, really looking at more, like you said, researching the farmer, looking more at researching the terpenes that go into the flowers, the type of flower that you like. Could be a specific, let's say just like purple punch. Research purple punch, see what kind of terpene is in it. If there's a terpene in purple punch that you enjoy, research other strains from other farmers and from other cultivars, and see which ones really like vibe with you and really fit and identify with you. Because THC isn't always, the end all be all. I've smoked stuff at 15% that's gotten me, a really nice high, and I've smoked other things at 25, 30% that honestly was nice, but not the best experience high wise. So I just think that it really is a little bit of a propaganda thing the government did with the THC. So I think that as people who know the game a little bit, who have been dabbling in it, I think it's up to us to kind of educate and let other people know what's really important when it comes to cannabis.
You just mentioned something, and what goes back to one of the questions you asked me, what cultivar would be a great beginning one for somebody to start. And I happen to know Canada Country Farm, Ted and his family, second and third generation cannabis farmers. He's won the Breeders' Cup last year, or the year before it was, and then placed sixth last year in the sun-grown category and second the year before with the cultivar that tested. He just names his cultivars. This particular one I'm talking about is called number 26, and it's one of the highest, if not the highest one that one of the California labs had tested for osamine compared to any other cultivar that they have tested. And osamine's another really rare kind of terpene that hasn't gotten a lot of studies, but he is also doing some experiments with Colin. And actually, all my friends now are experimenting around and testing their cultivars. But that in particular, that particular strain tested 15%, and it was like 3 or 4% in osamine, and the cannabinoids were completely off the charts. So that would be a really good one, I think, with a little bit lower THC, but a little bit more well balanced in all three categories for somebody to try out to test. And but yeah, those kind of well balanced cultivars, I think, are a little bit better than it if you have one that's 42% THC but only 1% terpene or something like that. I think the more balanced ones will give you a better entourage effect.
Exactly. So like, something at 15%, if you have a nice 3% terpene level on that, that could produce a nice entourage effect for you, regardless of percentage, regardless of, the type of flower it is really. I think that is another thing in itself that doing research that could really be exciting for whoever it is that's consuming.
Yeah, and I
I'm
like to
gonna
look
research
at
that
every
strain.
different cultivar. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I
No,
was
I'm
just
definitely gonna research
I was
that
just going
strain
to
now.
say I like to look at every different strain that we grow here that other small farmers grow, is really taking the consumer on a journey, right? So when they smoke it,
Hmm.
I want them thinking about our farm, really what we stand for and what we represent, and that really, legalization, truly in my eyes, only came to be because of a lot of the farmers in the Emerald Triangle that fought the war on drugs and that really put their life at risk to fight for this plant. And, it took 30, 40, 50 years to get to this point, but now we're kind of just opening the door. So for those of us that lived with, aerial surveillance, helicopters and guys with AR-15s dropping down on wires onto our properties and chasing us as 15-year-old kids through white thorn bushes down the valleys. And, this has been an amazing journey. And it's only just recent, really, in the last few years that we've been able to share our story, our journey, and talk on platforms like this to people. And we're pretty proud that we've gotten to this point, and we've always been really wanting to share our life's work with people, with the consumer. And it's really never been about the money like, they portrayed us as it being. It was
Hmm.
always about really just sharing our product with either our friends or now consumers, and really, developing relationships with them. Most of the people that follow me on Instagram, that interact with me consistently, we've developed a relationship. They're my friends now, and they're more than welcome to come here. And I'm not going to sell them weed. I'm going to give them weed because I just want them to experience what I've experienced and feel very fortunate to be a part of for the last 50 years.
Yeah, that is great. And I think that to putting in perspective a little bit that experience that you had and growing up and having those memories, doing the time that you did, getting out, and now, like you said, being where you're at in this position, being able to talk about your story, um, and really share that with the people, the general public. And I think that's great. And that's the why we're here. That's the whole reason why we're doing this, is so that people can get to know the farmer and get to know what it is that you guys do and what it takes to be in your position, because you had some sacrifices that you had to take. And we're still very early in the legal aspect of cannabis. And so for you to be able to tell your story and to not feel like you're going to be persecuted for it and no longer, and that you could just speak freely about something that you love, you hold dear, and that's been in your family for generations. I think that's absolutely amazing, and that's why we're here, and that's why we want to keep doing these every week.
We're both, Rose and I were pretty honored. We got invited to come participate in a class at Cal Poly Humboldt a couple days ago and talk to a bunch of students. And it really felt good to really share our story and really wanted to hear our journey from the very beginning, have moving up here to, having come out of jail and now being a permitted farm. And yeah, just really had a huge impact on the kids. I don't want to say kids, the 20-year-old men and women that were in the class. And really, they've all reached out to me on Instagram now. And, it's the beginning of a bunch more relationships, which I just love.
I love that too, and I was gonna. That was gonna be my next question. Was what was the receptivity like from the students there? But I mean, from what you just said, them adding you on your Instagram and reaching out a little bit more afterwards, I could tell that your visit was well received. And why wouldn't it
It
be?
was well
Got the
received,
legendary
and
Johnny Casali.
what I noticed the most was how surprised that each and every one of them were when I really brought their attention to mandatory minimums and what we were looking at, federally for going to jail for growing a plant. And like I told them, is my bracket for a first-time nonviolent offender wasn't a year. My bracket was 10 years to life in prison with a $4 million fine. And they're talking to somebody that has never had a speeding ticket before. So that was the consequences of them really targeting you and making an example of you and Ronald Reagan's war on drugs. That is how extreme and how hard they were trying to be on us to stop, that we had to overcome to get to this point. That's what people saw happen to me, that they realized was really could happen to them too. And I feel very fortunate that I didn't have any children. I wasn't married at the time, so it wasn't as hard on me when I went away for that long as it was on a lot of people that I saw in there, that their kids had to grow up without their mother or their father, or had to come visit them in federal prison. And it was traumatic. And I don't know how those kids ever overcome seeing their parents in jail and trying to really rationalize on, well, this is just a plant. Like, why is daddy or mommy in jail for this plant for so long? It can't hurt anybody. And so, well, we could go on about that forever, but like I said, it was an amazing journey. It's pretty ironic that, the prison guard and the warden that was at the same camp that I was at came to visit me here at the farm and walk through the plants and even take some plants home with them, and now are growing them today. So, ironically, we all have the ability to make a difference in people's lives, no matter where we're at. And we should never take any day that we have on this earth for granted, and really appreciate every single day and every moment. And I'm just grateful to be here with you guys today. And really, we're all playing a major role in creating history. And we'll look back on this 10 years from now, hopefully, and go, wow, we were breaking new ground together. And we didn't even really know how much we were really doing it. But I think we're doing some amazing things together.
I would agree 112,000%. This is for a lot of us uncharted, and this is something new that we're bringing into this, and we want to be the authority. And I think this is where it starts, with you, with other legacy farmers, and just learning about your guys' story and sharing that with not just the people here in California, but with the world, and I think we got something brewing here, and it's just one step in front of the other. I think we're gonna have something really special.
Yeah, as different states come online to legalization, and New York's, I think, online, either they passed it and maybe some retail shops are going to get to open up next year, next spring. I can really hear the excitement, and people are reaching out to us,
Hmm.
hoping for federal legalization so they can really, the focal point will at that point, I truly believe, be on the Emerald Triangle and the cannabis that we're growing here, because ultimately at the end of the day, it will be the only different thing in the industry that there is. It'll be the stories that really got us to legalization, and the small farmers that played a big role in that. So I'm pretty excited to see where it goes and how it goes, and who's on board with the journey. So there's all good things to come, even though right now it feels pretty tough for a lot of us. We're just trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks, and really trying to educate the consumer that, you know, I would much rather eat some tomatoes that were grown by a farmer that cared about the people that were eating them than somebody that just cared about the bottom line. And so that's how I really define those Emerald Triangle small farmers, is really everything they're doing today, all the struggles that they're having. It really comes down to, it's all about the consumer. And ironically, it's up to the consumer whether or not now we make it or we don't.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's why you got to take care of the consumer. That's why you got to be honest with the consumer. Um, that's this, like you said. I mean, you want to eat a tomato. If you want to eat a tomato, you want to eat it from somebody who's actually grown it on a farm. You don't want to eat it by somebody who's grown it in a factory. It's been processed. It's the same thing goes into your flour. Um, I feel that way with oat flour, and I feel that way with sun-grown flour. When you smoke sun-grown, when you smoke really great outdoor flour, really great Humboldt flour, there is a different feeling you get. I can attest to that. I'm sure there's other people who can as well. I've tried indoor, I've tried sun-grown, I've tried Humboldt. Like I've tried a lot of stuff, and I would say that the Humboldt to me gives me a different high compared to indoor. It's a lot heavier. It's a lot more euphoric feeling. I feel the high way more intense, and I think that comes down, like you said, being outdoors, the trichomes, terpenes, all those things are just battling those harsh conditions, which in turn is just making it that much more of a pure pure plant for us to
Yeah,
enjoy.
and along those same lines, like you were saying, the stability of product that's held in a jar, even though none of us really want to hold our product longer than we have to in a jar. But those sun-grown products, those sun-grown cultivars, have the heavier terpenes, which are already subjected to the weather and outside more. Those terpenes last a lot longer, or a lot tougher than those lighter terpenes that are produced under artificial light. Those break down a lot easier. Those are a lot more delicate. There is an initial surge of a feeling that you get when you smoke indoor, but it doesn't really last as long. It's those heavier sesquine terpenes that really give you that euphoric entourage effect that lasts for a lot longer in outdoor cannabis. And I think it's really similar to eating a carrot that's grown organically soil versus something that's been fed chemical fertilizer and just mass produced. I mean, you can really taste the difference between garden organic fresh
Mm-hmm.
potatoes and tomatoes and carrots and all that stuff. It's the same with indoor and outdoor. And it's personal preference, and they each have their place in the marketplace for sure. And I'm not downing indoor at all. I'm just saying that our carbon footprint on the world is a lot less than running generators and running all these lights. And we're about the environment being fish friendly, and most of us have different certifications from either Sun and Earth or Dragonfly Earth Medicine or fish friendly farming, or different things that really identify us as being environmentally friendly, because we all have to pick our fights and what we want to fight for. And a lot of us up here grew up in the country and grew up in the hills, and it's always been about the environment for us. So we like to align ourselves and really educate people that that's what we stand for. And if they want to represent and support people that do that same thing, then they should really try to figure out who's doing what.
I agree. That again, we're on this earth and, we're all living here, living, breathing, and I think it's a part of our duty to take care of this earth while we're here. And that's, whatever we take, we should give back. And that goes with, farming, growing, whatever it is that you're taking. I think it's very important for us to just make sure that what we are taking, we're putting back into the earth and not leaving our carbon footprint and not leaving anything damaging behind for our next generation and for the next generations after that. But it's been we're coming to the end here. It's been a great talk, John. Like always, full of knowledge, and I think coming here every week is going to be great for people to come and tune in and listen to what you have to say and the knowledge you have to bring to the table.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm always willing to come in. I never know if what I'm saying is foolish or if it's really knowledge based, but I'm really just speaking from the heart and about my experiences and what I've learned from a lot of people in the Emerald Triangle over the years. And you do the same thing for 50 years straight. You pick up one or two things here, and I'm more than happy to share my experiences and what I've learned over those years. Because really the magic happens when you grow your own. And as much as I want you to experience my flower, I want more for you to grow your own than anything else, because there's nothing like sharing some of those cultivars that you've taken 7 months to grow with a buddy or two and watch it put a smile on their face. So grow your own is the most magical thing that I could offer you, and really encourage everybody to try to do it themselves.
Wise words from a wise man. Thanks, John. We appreciate you for being on the show, brother.
Right on. Let me know how we're going to go forward. I appreciate you guys. Keep doing God's work, and we'll talk again soon.
Most definitely, John. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, he left. I was hoping he stuck around for a little bit.
Well, that was great. That worked. That was actually a pretty good first or second time.
Hey, for the first 5 minutes, I had no fucking sound on. Like on our stream. Can you guys hear me?
Weird for at the beginning.
What?
Yeah,
hear
like
me?
no sound was coming through.
It was messing up all of us. When you went live, like everybody's sound cut off.
Well, it was my fault because I think I muted it on the streaming platform, which it fucked everything up. Then I figured it out, and then because we had like 15 or 20 people on LinkedIn, and they all bounced. I was like, why'd they all bounce? And then I turned the volume up, and I was like, oh, you can't hear anything. And then I was struggling to figure out how to make it work. Then it worked. And so we had one or two people. I think. What's that?
I hopped out and then I hopped back in because I wasn't really sure. I think it was a little bit like rushed at the beginning. Again, Scotty and I need to kind of go through like the things that we need to go through. The audio is really weird. We're in the same room. I can hear myself through his thing. So I also had like weird technical audio things. Like we definitely should not be in the same room next time.
Yeah, we just need to have like questions, more question based and more like more like an interview.
So that it's not going forever. The other thing is I wanted to get a word in. I could not get a word in between Scotty and him, like hella talking.
Well, that's why I think like you got to sit up there, because then it's like a conversation with all of you. Because like I wanted to stay on terpenes, and I think they got into a lot of reasons. Like, I mean, like all honesty, like I'm probably the stupidest guy here, And so you guys were talking about some shit. Like all I cared about was like, well, what does a terpene do for me? I don't really care about all the other stuff, but right, like I don't know what a terpene is. Like, tell me what a terpene
Yeah.
does.
I know. I was trying to reel it back because Scotty went like it's just two professionals basically talking to each other.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we just got to make it more
Yeah,
like
so
an
I was
interview.
trying to.
But you did a great job, Scotty.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely. So like I said, it was a learning experience. Every time we do these, we kind of check out what we want to do more. This time, I think, like I said, it was kind of like we freaked out because once you went live, the audio cut out. We all started panicking because I had to leave the room, come back in, like we were trying to figure it out.
And
So
Scotty
I
was
just
like
think that
standing, sitting,
next
standing,
time,
sitting.
yeah. We were just panicking, you know. So I think for sure every time it'll get better. My notes for myself after this was, which I think like it was kind of hard because Scotty kind of took over, and I think we didn't really talk about how we should both be communicating in and out because he's just talking, and I kind of wanted to take control and be like, oh, everybody, please sit down. We didn't do these like formal things that we should have done because we just went straight into the conversation because we said we were starting at 6. But we do need some sort of like, hey, everybody, like sit down, get in your seats. Because there's a lot of people fucking walking around for a moment. There was even some guy like just sitting on John's lap. And they couldn't figure out how to boot him out or like get him out.
Yeah,
And,
like, but I wanted to.
And we also need.
I wanted to talk all the times
we
too.
also needed to be like, yeah. And at the same time, at the end, we also needed to like kind of close it out and be like, thanks everybody for joining us. Like, if you would like to like, if you have any questions or if you guys want to like take a walk around, please make sure you take a time to like our room and that you follow us and you tune back in. You know what I mean? Like, it was very rushed at the end, and I think it's just because this was also Scotty's first time kind of hosting. So I think we'll just kind of every time, like I said, iron kinks out, and these are just notes that I took for myself.
Yeah, so there's, I mean,
that's what Poston was saying.
In Trello, you have it all written out. Like it, I that's what I assumed when I went live. We were just going to run down the kind of the Trello board. Yeah, I agree. It was kind of weird at first, but I mean, again, like I don't think we got into it that much, and we probably should have. Like we should probably this like earlier today talked about the questions we were going to ask, kind of the flow.
I also tried doing yes, it is very important, Poston. But I brought this up last week, and I also sent it to. I told John, but you were not in the call last week. You never logged in, so I also told John ahead of time, like, I can send you what the topic is. And he like legit was like, oh no, it's fine. I kind of just like talking.
Yeah, I know that's kind of his thing.
So I think next time we need to go in like prior, not like Wednesday, but I mean like maybe the week of, we have a whole week to fuck around and kind of get it like on schedule again and right. So I think next time we like hit him with like, this is the topic we would like to stay on. These are a few of the questions that we want to cover. That way he's also ready for the questions, because I did have them and I did bring them up to him last week and he was like, oh no, it's fine. Like we could just kind of like shoot the shit. So Scotty did ask me when we kind of came in, he was like, and I just told him like, you can look over the card to see like what I wrote down, but ultimately we just want to talk terpenes and kind of just like keep it like in that realm. But like, when you let John talk, he'll just get into the weeds.
Oh, 100%. Again, a lot of good content though. Like, so there's a lot of good, like little, excerpts. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Like, I was trying to steer him back to terpene talk, but then he would like start getting into like the weeds of other things. So I kept trying to get him back on terpenes, but he was just, John being John talking.
So, but I think next time we could just.
We just need to get to the part where, so you just have, Scotty did a great job. This is, please don't take this wrong.
Honestly, what it comes down to it is Poston is like, if you want to know what you want to know, you to tell us what you want to hear.
Oh no, I'm not saying anything was bad.
Because
I'm saying everything was great.
No, I know you're not, but I'm just letting you know, like, if you have an idea of how you wanted this to go, you should probably tell us how you want it, because Scotty and I are so like, we're not new. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So all I would say is like just more So that was more of a conversation, and it just needs to be more of an interview, right? So great. I mean, that's awesome that he went off, and I love all the content, so I'm not mad at all. Like, I'm just thinking about
Yeah.
like this dude Trent who wants the podcast for small business owners, and I think it needs to
Yeah.
be more like conversation and then question and then let him talk and then repeat back what he says. So I just look at like sales, right? So it's like repeat back what he says. So if I hear what you're saying, da da da, da and then ask the next question. Because if you ever listen to Joe Rogan, they always go off on something fucking that nobody like. That's not what even the question started with, and then he drives them back to it. And so I think that's it. But John's always going to do that. I think Trent is probably going to be more of a answer the question and not a lot of talking. And so you're going to have to like ask questions to get him talking.
Yeah.
But I think that's, again, like that was Scotty's first time ever interviewing anyone. I mean, I probably would have fucking been way worse than him. And then like just how it all started. Yeah. But I think ultimately I think it went super good other than not having any volume. Now the next part is just to make sure we have, everything recorded and we have actual volume.
I know. I hope mine's recorded because when we started fucking around